Hey guys, it's the patient hodler coming at you with another video. And in this one we are going to talk about two topics. First is Veve still a startup? And the second is, how early are we? So the two are linked together. But before we start, please keep in mind that I'm a crypto and NFT investor and not a financial advisor. So please do your own research before you ape into the Ecomi token or the Veve collectibles or any other investment option that presents itself to you during this video. Also, if you enjoy this type of content, please consider dropping a like, subscribe to my channel, and let me know what you think about Veve being a startup or not, and how early we are in the comments below. If you want to do more than this, you can also become a Patreon on my channel. And at this point, I thank very much my 7 Patreons that I already have. I really am glad that you are supporting my journey. So thank you very much for this. Also, thanks to all of my subscribers. We are hitting 1,800 subscribers at the moment of taking this video, so thank you all for supporting this channel. But with that out of the way, let's get started. So in the last videos I have claimed that Veve is still a startup, and I have done so in the context of comparing the investment into the Ecomi token and into the Veve collectibles with investing in a startup, where the plan is the first thing that goes out of the window, and therefore you need to trust in the team, into the jockey, as you would have to do it with a startup, where the startup could be faced with several challenges and therefore a complete change of plans. So we're seeing the same development, in my opinion, in Ecomi and Veve, when regulations force them to pause buybacks maybe forever and change other utilities, other functionalities, modalities, and where the global situation also hinders the progress in a way so that the team has to find other ways to get it done. The reaction of some of you was that Veve is not a startup after 4 years anymore. And I took these complaints seriously, and I did some research on what actually is a startup, and I found some interesting bits and pieces. I found a very good article from Business Insider. You will find the link in the description of this video below, so you can read it for yourselves, and I will trickle in some of the definitions that you can find in this article that I find valuable between what I'm telling here, because I cannot read and take this video in the fields at the same time. But let's just start. The first definition that I could find is just that a startup is building something from scratch and starting something new, putting something in motion. So clearly they have done that. The Veve team, the Ecomi team, they have done that.
The dictionary defines it as the action or process of setting something in motion. Okay, that's not very clear. So is Uber, which has a 40 billion valuation but is only 5 years old, a startup? Is that mom and pop shop that just opened on your block a startup? There is no definition any two entrepreneurs or investors agree on. Most say a startup is determined by its age, growth, revenue, profitability, or stability.
And one of them is the 50, 100, 500 rule. 50 million revenue, 100 employees, and 500 million total worth. So I think the 50 and the 500 is maybe achieved by Veve. I'm not sure. But the 100 not, because they are not passing 100 employees. They should, because of reasons of scaling, but they did not. So for that definition, it is a startup. Then again, you can read in this article that basically the best definition is that there is no real definition, and that being a startup or not is a sentiment.
A startup is a company working to solve a problem where the solution is not obvious and success is not guaranteed. Perhaps the most precise definition of a startup is that there isn't one. Being a startup, a lot of founders believe, is a state of mind. It's not a word that's restricted by the number of years a company has been in business or the amount of revenue a business pulls in. Jan Koum, the co-founder of 19 billion WhatsApp, says, "A startup is a feeling. A startup is a state of mind. It's when people join your company and are still making the explicit decision to forego stability in exchange for the promise of tremendous growth and the excitement of making immediate impact."
But you can have startups that are worth billions. So in the first rocket launches of SpaceX was a startup. They were trying to do something disruptive. They had no real profitability. They were still launching completely new modalities, trying out new engines like the Raptor engine, and they had their rockets failing and exploding. And I think if you consider all of these definitions that you have heard by now, you would say that more likely than not, Veve is still a startup, because they are sailing in a completely free and blue ocean with little to no competition of what they are doing, with big licensors at hand, and they are trying things out. They have a drop system that they have to change now. They have 20 times more users than they expected. They have issues of scaling. They got the gem hack, so they have issues with the modalities of payment. They have so many problems to solve, to react, to adapt, to overcome. And in the way that the team presents itself, I would really say that we have here, in fact, a startup, that Veve Ecomi, despite 4 years of networking and onboarding brands to even start building the project, this all is a startup. And considering that there is a whole space of metaverse, real use of augmented reality, and so many more brands and verticals to onboard, we are way at the beginning, and there is a high risk for startups to fail, but there's also high chance of reward for all those who put their capital into that investment. And that is, if you have a couple of $100 in the collectibles, you are already highly invested in that project.
A startup is all those things rolled into one. The concise definition I'd use is a few-year-old tech company that could still easily fail. A startup is an emotional roller coaster that can either result in massive failure or success, after which one's bank account totally may either drastically increase or decrease. The person behind a startup is a founder, an often very bright, somewhat crazy person who finds a normal 9-to-5 job dull and is deluded into believing he or she can change the world by working tirelessly in front of a computer screen. The relentless work has been known to shave a few years of a founder's life while adding premature gray hairs, but it can be very rewarding, both emotionally and financially, for those who pursue it.
I thought about making 2 videos out of this, but I will leave it with one, because I think the 2 topics are tied closely together. And the second topic that belongs to this first is, if Veve Ecomi is a startup, then how early are we? And we're going to quickly dip in some parallel universes, let's say, of the NFT space, which is the crypto space, and the space and history of the stock market and technological development. So a lot of things had to happen in the last couple of 100 years that we are able to do and invest what we are doing at the moment. The first one is, for example, if you look at the stock market and you wanted to buy a stock today, you just log onto a site, you do KYC, you go to this online broker and you just order some stocks. You can even now own parts of one stock, because these online brokers enable that and get equal dividends for that. But what had to happen? So if you look back to the Netherlands in 1611, I think, you have the Dutch East India Trading Company or something like that, which was apparently the first company to emit stocks. And if you wanted to own a stock like that, you couldn't go to the internet and buy it. You couldn't even call your broker to buy it for you. You had to go there to their office and get some papers signed that you in fact own the stock and that you're eligible for the dividends of this Dutch East India company. And then shortly after, the Amsterdam Stock Exchange in the Netherlands has been built up, but then you had to go directly to that exchange and buy the stocks that you needed. So technology enabled us to be even able to take part in this market of investments. Now, stocks are owned by many people, but not by all of the people in the world. So this is one factor that plays into that. And probably you think, what does this have to do with the rest of the topics? If you're looking onto that first investment market, this investment market only got big with the stocks by the development of the internet and online brokers, because now everyone can just pull out an app, the smartphone, and go to Trade Republic or Robinhood and just buy some stocks or shares of a stock. Now, within that broader investment bubble, you'll find a smaller market, which is the one of crypto investment. And if you just look at how many wallet addresses of Bitcoin are there worldwide, that is a very, very little share. I think in one article I read that there are around 40 million wallet addresses, unique wallet addresses, but that doesn't even mean that 40 million people worldwide are invested in Bitcoin, because for example, I think I have 3 or 4 different wallet addresses on different exchanges for Bitcoin. So let's say those are 10 million. So 10 million people are invested in Bitcoin, and less than that probably in any other altcoin. So now you have a proportion of how many people are in that space of the ones that are willing to invest. I don't know how many investors we have worldwide into any asset class, but another thing that could be interesting to compare is the dissemination of the technology that is called the internet. And the first numbers that we have is 16 million users in 1995. So when the internet was already invented since a couple of years, but only 16 million. So that is comparable with the blockchain, Bitcoin, wallet addresses that we have right now. Now, if you consider that development, today we have 65% of the whole world has access to the internet and is using it. I think that is around 5 billion people. So that took us 30 years. Now you have this little space that is called the blockchain, and where you buy your altcoins and so on. And within that space, a new technology, a new disrupting technology has emerged within the last 4 years. And that is called the NFT space. And that little sphere is the one that you are in right now. And within that little sphere, in the last 3 to 4 years, a company has emerged that is Ecomi, with a small team, but with very capable people like David Yu, but also helping people like African that are major players in the licensing league. So if you have this tiny emerging place, the NFTs within all of that big investment picture, and then you see that the Veve app is existing for a little more than 1 year, the real app with functionalities and drops and some collectibles that you could buy, and that most of the people have entered into that app within the last 9 months or even 6 months, and that it has surpassed the expectations by around 20x. And if you consider all of this, and you're telling me that Veve is not a startup working in this market, then I don't know what to do anymore, because despite the definitions and despite how early we are in that NFT market, we are even earlier in the IP license-based 3D collectible augmented reality Metaverse startup, which is Veve, okay? So I hope you can follow me, and if you disagree, please let me know in the comments below. I think there will be people that disagree with this opinion. So considering all of that, what I just said, we could apply here the picture. I will put it in that video of the diffusion or innovation adoption curve that basically starts out with the innovators, and then we have the early adopters, and then the early majority and the late majority, and some laggards behind, some conservatives that are coming late to the party. Now, in my opinion, with Veve, we are probably even in the stage of the innovators. Like, people that are investing in NFTs are constantly faced in their broader environment with discussions about NFT itself and why you need this and why this makes sense and why you're investing in it, and most of them don't understand it. So I would even put us in the very, very first phase. And I know that it's very common to always put yourself in the first phase because it looks better, but if you consider all the facts that I've just mentioned, there's no other way than describing these first 1 to 2 million people that are, or even 500,000 people if you consider unique people on the app, that these are the pilots, the innovators that are coming in before early adopters, before the people that are like that are coming into the NFT space. I think in crypto and altcoins, we are in the early adopter phase already. The innovators were the ones that were connecting Bitcoin miners and Litecoin miners a couple of years back, and that were already with a vision and believing into the project. But I think if you're in Veve since a couple of months and in the Ecomi token right now, then you are in fact an innovator. I think that is enough for today. I hope you feel a little bit better about your investments into the OMI token and the Veve collectibles. And with that said, this is the end of the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what you think about all of this. And wherever you are on the world, have yourselves a great morning, evening, day, night, or afternoon, and see you in the next video.